Ooh, that was bad. We're good. We're good. Summertime, y'all. Welcome everybody to our workshop Tuesday, June 18th, 2024, 5 p.m. Call to order, declaration of a quorum, 7 members present. Welcome everybody. Thank y'all for being here. And that brings us to item C, hearing of citizens. Do we have anything for these items here? No. And then item D, consideration discussion, D1, consideration discussion regarding the 24-25 budget. Ms. Draws.
Maybe it was already on. Good evening. Thank you, Dr. Harkrider, Mr. Horak, members of the board. Here to talk about budget one more time. So we'll get right into it. I want to bring up the potential for the fiscal year alignment. Remind you of a few things there, and that is on the agenda tonight for further discussion and consideration. We'll again look at some updates for 23-24 because that kind of is our base for going into the new year. Then we'll talk about 24-25 a little more. We did a little bit of compensation at the last meeting, but we'll expand a little bit more on that. And then look at both, it says 10-month, but really it's both a 10 and a 12-month budget for just the general fund at this point in the process. So fiscal year alignment, just to remind you that by education code and legal policy, we have two choices. We can have a fiscal year start date of July 1, which would mean that ends on June 30. Or we can have a physical start date of September 1, and that ends in August 31. So College Station ISD is currently a September 1 through August 31. There is a process for districts who would like to change their fiscal year, so we'll look at that process. Currently, there are 316 districts out of a little over 1,200 that have that July 1 start date. So talk about some advantages and challenges. So advantages are that most of the federal grants that the district has run July through June, or they at least start in July. Sometimes they let us go all the way to September to finish spending monies, but for the most part, they start on July 1. Would be able to align our physical budget with the school year. So most of you know, many years ago, school started after Labor Day. So September 1 made a lot of sense. We were starting our fiscal year just before students came, but now with school starting mid-August and some districts even early August, they're looking at it as next year. So right now they're saying, I need to spend my 24-25 budget because I'm planning for next school year, and the business office is saying, wait, we're still on 23-24. So it's really confusing. They have to hold some of their budget to get them through the summer to start school. So that's confusing for them. And then we'll have a fund balance addition in the year of transition, because at some point, if you do transition, you've got to have a 10-month budget instead of a 12. So the year that we transition to July 1, there would be a 10-month budget. For the most part, you have 12 months of revenue because most of our revenue is all student driven. So that's still over a 10-month basis or even a 9-month basis for the school month. So you have almost a full 12 months of revenue with 10 months worth of expenditures. Then there's a whole list of challenges, and I call them challenges as not disadvantages. It's a challenge. That year of transition, there's a lot of work to do. Particularly for the business office, but human resources as well, and a learning curve for the departments on how to manage those budgets and do it differently. So first thing is we'll be having to prepare both a 10-month and a 12-month budget the first year. So we have to do 10-month because that's what everybody's going to operate with, and that's what the Board of Trustees will adopt. But TEA wants us to turn in a 12-month budget. The reason being that if they do any comparatives with other districts, you wouldn't be able to compare apples to apples. So we'll be preparing both a 12 and a 10. Budget cycle moves up This first year will be beginning it right after the audit completes. Debt service will have a temporary increase in fund balance every year. That is something that goes on because we've got to collect the property taxes to make that August payment. So when you do our financials into June, it'll show a large fund balance, but within 2 months that will mostly be depleted. The transition year mechanics of working with that both a 10 and a 12-month budget, adopting a budget prior to receiving our property values each year. So if we have a July 1 start date, you as a board will have to adopt the budget in June. We don't get certified property values until in July, but we do have some estimates to work on. Could have 2 public hearings, but not necessarily, as long as the information doesn't change to cause us to propose a tax rate that's higher than the public hearing, will be okay. But adopting a budget also during legislative session years. Legislative session gets out around June 1st normally, except this past year that went on forever. So that's a little bit of a challenge, but other districts have worked through it, so it can be done. And if we need to amend the budget shortly after, a couple months later, because of legislative action, we can always do that. So again, challenges because they're temporary. They're not something that we have to work through every year.
And if we had to adjust the tax rate, we can't go up. We can only go down from that estimate. Okay.
Right. So if we propose a debt service tax rate, as long as we're going lower than that, then we're okay. You don't have to do another public hearing. So the timeline for transition, we're really in that July. We're finalizing in June, we're looking at the policy amendment tonight and the application process, asking for your approval. And then in July, we'll finalize that submission with TEA, and then come August, normal time for you guys this year, that we would be adopting that budget. So any questions before I move on to current year?
When it comes to amending the budget after the fact, the one thing that I guess that keeps popping in my head is, would we ever have to amend the budget as far as compensation, where all of a sudden we just don't have the funds for what our compensation plan was? I mean, that would be my fear, is then.
I don't see any reason why you cannot.
Yeah.
You want to adopt compensation prior to at least your teacher contract starting, and so they don't come on board until in August. So I don't see why you couldn't. And think back to the year we had our VATRE. We had 2 different compensation adoptions. Yeah. We did adopt the whole thing up front, but then we came in and gave it again. I'm not sure there would be a reason why you could not bring a budget amendment to the board for additional compensation or hold off.
Yeah, well, yeah, the additional compensation part would be, a blessing. But if for some reason we were stuck in a situation where now we had to roll back compensation, that would be a nightmare.
Yeah, I don't know that I would roll back. In fact, there is some things that say you can't pay the teacher less than they were in the prior year, so that wouldn't change. But you could postpone that and amend the budget for compensation the following month if needed be.
I think if we had any questions as far as compensation or any worry, we would come in with a recommendation much lower or any at all to let whatever need to play out correct, and then come after the fact if we had to.
Yeah, I think I've got a slide in a little bit that might help show what you could do.
And can I just, actually 2 things. One, we don't foresee any issues with like our auditors, or if you've talked to them about managing 2 sets of books and looking through 2 sets of books.
Yes, Mr. Neely has talked to them because there's a big difference in timing for them. They normally don't get here till early October, so they would be having to come earlier. But he did visit with our current auditors to ensure that if we moved forward, that they could accommodate that change for us. And they've gone through this fiscal year change with some other clients as well, so they'll be able to help walk us through that.
And then my other question is really on the last one of the benefits. Are we going to actually see in the numbers, what that would look like? Okay.
We're
and-
going to show you some
all right,
estimates. Not
perfect.
quite done with them, so they're estimates,
Okay.
but I think we're getting close. Okay, so the general fund, we're done with this year as far as the school year. So we've received reports from the technology department to get our final average daily attendance. They're still auditing some things, but we don't expect changes. So ended the year very close to what we were thinking would happen based on historical trends, but 13,330. What's odd about that is you can see we're below what we budgeted, but we're very close to what we budgeted for what we call weighted average daily attendance. So what that means is that our special populations, although our enrollment didn't grow, our special populations did grow. And all of our revenue, a lot of it is based on that weighted average daily attendance. So that's helping us out to help get closer to meeting our at least property tax and state revenue budget that we set. So looking at that, overall, when you look at expenditures and revenue, looking better. I think I've improved the last two times I showed it to you, but we have about originally it was a 1.7, ended up with close to a 1.9 deficit budget or expenditures over revenue, and I'm thinking it's going to come in more like 1.4, 1.5. This is despite some of the negative things that have occurred this year, so we're real pleased with that. So just as a reminder, these are the things that affected that 23-24 budget. The increase in homestead exemption from 40,000 to 100,000. We knew about that starting in August, and we're able to plan that accordingly. That required tax reductions that applied to the frozen levies all the way back to 2019. That's caused us a little bit of trouble. Let me go back when I say that to this slide right here. So one of the caveats about this estimated revenue is that I've made the assumption that TEA will accept the correction that was submitted on our behalf for property values. If you'll recall that there was an error in submitting those for state value purposes related to that frozen levy. So we'll know in August. TEA should change the numbers, but I'm making the assumption that will occur in this number because it makes a significant difference, and I don't think we can guess at this point that it will not happen. So that carrybacks caused us a little bit of trouble. There was also, whenever they calculate the maximum compressed tax rate for the general fund side, they also mandated an additional 10-cent reduction across all districts, unless, of course, you were at the floor. They are to provide additional state revenue to make up the loss for both of these items, that being the carryback of the reductions as well as the increase in homestead exemption. You'll recall we communicated to you about a loss in SHAR's federal revenue. This is reimbursements from the federal government for services that the school district provides to Medicaid eligible students. It was about $2.5 million this year because of an item where they said the formula had not been correct for a very long time, and they carried that correction back for 2 years and applied it to all districts. I think this coming year, that reduction from what we used to have before this was about 1.5 million, but it was $2.5 million for this year. Did get some additional safety funds of 15,000 a campus. That is supposed to continue for next year. A reminder, no increase in that basic allotment since 2019. So we've been having to deal with that. Very fortunate with investment earnings. That's also bailed us out. Interest rates have continued to be much higher than they were several years ago. And we also have started transitioning in 23-24 away from the use of ESSER. We started moving some things back to the general fund last year, and of course it will end come September of this year. So moving forward to 24-25, some of the challenges that we're facing is with all districts, we have increased demands for the use of spending money with no additional revenue. We have that decline that I mentioned of SHARs, the expiration of ESSER. We in College Station also have the expiration of what we call T-class. It's kind of related to ESSER. Not all districts received these funds, but we did apply for them and get them, and that also expires either in May or September of this year. So those are expiring as well. Record inflation. I've showed you some screens before of the increases we've seen since 2019, particularly in property and casualty insurance, but employee health, fuel, just daily operational expenditures that we have to have. The need for additional compensation to compete with other districts and industry to help us continue to recruit and retain high quality staff. And you know, our staff are no different than the district. They've been experiencing inflation as well. So there's pressure there for additional compensation. We are fortunate to have what we are now calling a stable enrollment growth instead of the increase in growth that we've had in previous years, pre-COVID, but it's stable, at least moving in an upward trend, but not quite as fast as it had been before. And then this year we have the unknowns of the next legislative session. There is some talk of compensation or additional funding for school districts, but we don't know what will happen. So we have that hanging over our heads as well. So looking at revenue, we are budgeting based on what the demographer has projected, a 0.6% increase in enrollment. Looking at the tax rate, a very little change. What we're accustomed to is if property values grow, we have that required compression. But College Station ISD is at the floor, which means we don't go below it. So there's just fraction of a cent there. We're estimating a 8% property value growth for this scenario. And I mentioned this last time. We showed the pictures of the cup that shows as property values grow, because they're not changing that basic allotment, the cup doesn't get any bigger, but the makeup between property taxes and state revenue changes. And that's what those two asterisks are. You can see growing a little bit in total, but for what property taxes increase, our state revenue declines. So that's, if you'll recall the picture of that cup, that's what it depicts, and they certainly show that. So right now we're predicting about $145 million in general fund revenue. And I will note that that interest earnings is based on a 12-month. Everything here you're seeing right now is based on a 12-month basis, okay? The district has worked hard to find budget reductions where we can save, as well as, but we still have some things that we have to add. So right now the adds are totaling about $4.3 million. That's mandatory inflation. We have the opening of the CTE Center. We have had some positions approved, and then bringing those expenditures from ESSER and T-class that must continue on, moving those back to the general fund. So those all total somewhere around $4.3 million. But to date, we have around $3.6 million in general fund reductions. And we're getting that from the staffing realignment that was done. Closely monitoring our enrollment on a class basis to tighten those up, because when we didn't quite get the growth last year, we staffed for that. So looking at monitoring that enrollment for student to teacher ratios. All campuses and departments have been asked for budget reductions, so those have been accounted for. And then we do have some other resources. We have safety grants that came about. Once we get the requirements of fencing and everything else in, we can use this last safety grant for security. Remember, we also have the Adam Family Foundation grant that's earmarked for safety that we can use. And then we have ESSER funds still for the month of September. They're giving us a little flexibility on, as long as we've ordered it by the end of September, they'll give us a few more months to get items in. So we want to use that last bit of ESSER as much as we can to help get us through this very difficult year that's coming up. So taking all that into account, around $149 million before we talk about compensation. So I hope this number improves a little bit, but right now around $4 million of expenditures exceeding revenue on a 12-month basis, okay, without talking about compensation. I said every week this number tends to change, and so far it's gone down. So hopefully by the time budget adoption gets here, that will improve again.
This is that shock you're talking about by going from a 12-month to 10 months?
Not yet. We're
Okay.
fixing to. This is all on a 12-month basis. This is no additional revenue, accounting for inflation, ESSER cliff, all of these expenditures coming back over. Like you said, 4-point-something million of additions before we talk about compensation. So the ESSER cliff is a lot of this one. So let's talk about compensation for just a little bit. We looked at 3 different scenarios. We really looked at scenario A. This would be no change, and this would be something that we would do on a July 1 if we're not certain. We would do the no change, but just because of the teacher salary schedule and you advance a year, right now that was estimated to cost the district as the teachers advance a step around $550,000 with benefits. We showed you last time the last column, if we did a 2% increase off midpoint for admin, paraprofessionals, and auxiliaries. It took the beginning teacher from 51,000 to 52,000, provide teachers with a 2% of their midpoint, and it tells you what that minimum raise is and the average, but around $2.8 million for what we're calling a 2% pay increase across the board. And then we said, what about something in the middle? And we didn't have those defined. We just had some various things that could happen. This is kind of what we landed on. And that is beginning teacher pay at $51,750 instead of $52. Making sure that each teacher, as they advance a step or gain, have $1,000 increase from current year to next year. That is about a 1.76% of the midpoint, and the average for all teachers is about 1.77. The beginning, I think teacher probably gets a little bit more because of just how the steps are and trying to keep some differential between them. But looking at administrative and professional, doing a 1.5% of midpoint for that group of employees, and keeping the 2% on the paras and auxiliaries, close to 2.5 million. So there's about a $300,000 difference there of using that scenario B of a 1.5 to 2, depending on what pay group that you're in. It could be that for market and equity purposes, so could be for market, there may be positions that were way out of line. Transportation is one of those, bus drivers, where we know we're well behind. So that's the market part. And equity could be when we start looking at, we're hiring in and this is what we have to do, but now we have positions with internally that have very similar experience. So you've got to do some equity within the district to keep fairness. So that would be equity. Could be changes in positions as well. Did that answer your question? Okay. So now I think this is what you were asking for, and that's some whole numbers. And sorry, these didn't quite line up. So applying compensation to the numbers that we looked at before, if you'll recall, around a $4 million expenditures over revenue. Under scenario A compensation, that would be no change to the teacher salary schedule or across. That increases to around $5 million. The 1.5 to 2% changes to just below 7, and scenario C comes to 7.3 million. So that's again on a 12-month basis. Right now we're still working through the numbers. If on a 10-month basis, we feel like there's going to be somewhere between $8 and $10 million that will come off of this particular line item. So what you're looking at is the estimated general fund would be $3 to $5 million addition to fund balance, depending on where that 10-month impact is. Under scenario B for compensation, 1 to 3, and under scenario C, anywhere from $0.5 to $2.5 million addition to fund balance.
I guess I was expecting that to be more than 8 to 10 million, because I mean, just roughly taking 145 divided by 12 in 2 months. So
It
where
doesn't-
does that 8 to 10 go? What's
So you think about
that's
our
more like
biggest,
24 million,
yeah, our
yeah.
biggest employee group and where most of our compensation at is in teachers. And teachers are the area that we don't get to postpone. And the reason is it's not on a cash basis. So if a teacher retires or resigns in May after they fulfill their contract, we have to pay them their June, July, and August salaries. So we have to accrue those and still expense them. Does that make sense? So you're not looking at any 10-month employees. You're saving on 12-month employees, 2 months of pay and benefits. 11-month employees, you're saving 1 month. But on the 10-month employees, you're 187 to 192, 197. We have to expense all of theirs.
okay? Yeah, and obviously not every
Yes.
month. So not every month is equal in our
Right, not every
the
month
way
is
we-
equal.
the way we
And then
spend
you-
our money.
Right, and then you have things like transportation. So if you look at fuel as one of their biggest expenditures, we're going to spend most of it in September through May. We have June summer school, but June they fund there, so very little. So you're saving half a month of August on their fuel. So not everything in the district is cyclical that you can take 1/12. And that's one of the things that's we're still working on. We've got to take every budget and look at it and decide, okay, so how much of their budget could realistically, what's the dollar amount that would be spent as of June 30? And it's not always equal. Utilities pretty level, but some of the other things are not. Make sense? So that one-time addition to fund balance would cover this transition year. And some options would even more than cover that and maybe cover any losses that we might have this year. So what are we doing from here? We're continuing to look at all resignations to determine what are we doing with those. We're monitoring enrollment to determine are we filling all those positions. Still reviewing all department and campus budgets for the reductions that they were able to take and then that transition to a 10-month. We've gone through the software usage, come up with some dollar amounts there. Some of these are not necessarily saving the general fund directly. A lot of it's IMA, but it's giving us the capacity. We were running short there too, so indirectly it is helping the general fund. So a lot of those were instructional material allotments. We're looking at all of our standard contracted services to see do we need to retain them at the level that we have been, or can we make a switch with that? Our inflationary items, I'm still getting some confirmation of things, and we will continue all the way up to budget adoption time. I think property casualty is the big one. They have a goal of being able to bring that to you in July, the July board meeting. We need to finalize that compensation plan. We're hoping to bring that to you in July for adoption. And then we will continue budget reduction discussions throughout next year. We can't rely on what the legislature might do, but also we want to make sure that we are spending wisely and efficiently and putting the dollars in the best place possible. So looking for efficiencies in how we spend our money will never stop. So just a reminder of the budget timeline. Get another opportunity in July. And then August 20th is the scheduled meeting for the public hearing and adoption. So with that questions, I will tell you that there's some data slides that follow this that I put in here just for your reference. That's fund balance, enrollment, property value growth. I don't think we need to go over them again. But I have left them in here so you can easily reference back and not have to go to prior meeting presentations to find them. So
Can you go back a couple slides to that expenditure one? That one.
this one.
I mean, obviously, we all got to look at those big deficit numbers there and think about those. All of them are large. And so you correct me if I'm interpreting this incorrectly, but obviously, this change in our fiscal year would give us some cushion this year. And in addition to getting us through that deficit this year, it would get us even a little bit of potential ahead for the next year.
Correct.
Because we all recognize that when we make most of those decisions that we would make for that budget would be ongoing till the next year, right? I mean, so
Exactly.
we would be, unless something happens with the legislature, which is, we can all be a little hopeful, but also tentative and wary with what they're going to do, I would think. So, so that's the bad of how bad it is, but a little cushion because of the change, and then some hope that there would be more moving forward. Because we really couldn't, I mean, it would be a bigger deficit. I mean, it would be well, it would not, it would still be a deficit next year, and then 2 years out, it would be even bigger if we didn't do if we didn't get more revenue or continue to reduce expenditure.
Yeah, so I'm going to point this out because I had to do a double take. The math here, you think it's because that first one was $500,000, but that loss is not the expenditures plus $500,000. Is I reduced by 2 months of interest earnings as well. So if you're wondering how my crazy math was, I had to look at that. I said, what did I do? And I remember I did take 2 months of interest out of the revenue.
And just so you're aware, I mean, we reduced roughly 3.6 million right now, budget-wise. That will not change next year. We will be evaluating everything and how we're spending money. We're not going to keep our fingers crossed and hope the legislator is going to give us additional funds. We will take the entire year next year and make sure that we're spending the money the way we should. And there will be additional cost savings that I think will come across here over the next 12 months.
And I certainly appreciate that, but I also, I mean, there's a limit to how much you can tighten the belt when 85% of our expenditures are people, and we, so I think we're already going to feel the 3.6 to some degree. So I worry about, and I'm not saying there's not some opportunities, but I just don't see them being that big. Again.
Understood.
So
It's difficult.
this may be a rhetorical question, but I'm just trying to do the math. The no new revenue thing is what's hanging me up. Is we're cutting operational expenses, but the nature of inflation is every year is more expensive than last year. So to try and compensate our teachers for that, we have to give them modest pay raises every year, but we can't get new revenue to compensate that pay raise. So it's a structural insolvency that the state's put on us.
Right. And the funding system, the way it works, the community in general will think, well, property values, I said 8% going up, we're going to get that. But if you recall that picture, property values, it's all on a per student basis. So increased enrollment will bring us additional total revenue, not necessarily on a per student basis. So kind of level, same enrollment or average daily attendance in WADA. Increase in property values will not bring us additional total revenue. Our state revenue will decline.
It looks like a structural failure. It's an
Seems
untenable
like it.
financial model. Or they're asking teachers to work for free.
It really is. I mean, I shared something that with Dr. Harkrider that from a presentation at the Summer Leadership Institute, and just about how bad that inflation is hurting our ADA and our teacher salaries. But particularly, if the ADA is now, it was 6,160, right? And that was that since 2019. If you go to the Texas Comptroller's Hager's website and get his numbers for the index for inflation, and that money from 2019 now is worth the equivalent of about 4,800, no, more than $1,300 less per student. That's the pain. And then they multiply that times 22 kids in an elementary classroom, and that's $30,000, kind of the equivalent of $30,000 less per elementary classroom. And when they put those numbers up there, that really made it pretty clear. So it is painful, and I so appreciate that we are having to tighten our belts, but there's just seems like there's a limit at some point, right?
So you talked about enrollment and average daily attendance. So as a reminder, we are not funded on enrollment. Our attendance has continued to improve. We finished the year slightly better on an overall attendance rate than last year, but didn't improve a whole lot. So we've already been discussing how we might be able to focus on attendance more and improve that attendance rate, which would bring some additional total revenue as well.
So if we didn't go to a 10-month budget, where would that leave us as far as our fund balance?
That's why I leave
Would
these
it still
data
be-
sleds, right? Okay, so unassigned fund balance, this is the one that TEA is looking at. So as of the end of last fiscal year, 32.3 million. Our general net bottom line affects this one. So we may be looking to maintain that 75 million is to look at some of that 5 million and ask for your permission to move it from committed to unassigned. It does take board action. You all control that committed line. So if you're looking at a total of $39 million and a $5 million loss here. So if you picked the scenario one, it would decline by, if we ended up right at budget, hopefully we would improve upon that with either monitoring expenses and getting efficient or improving attendance rates, those types of things. But you have a potential to go down from anywhere from 5 to 7 million, depending on what we do with compensation.
And would the like the 7 million, just take the mid-range there, would that still leave us with a acceptable fund balance, or would it put us?
Not without probably depleting that committed line,
Okay.
because we're running close on that one. I knew those slides were down there for a reason.
Anything else? I mean, we obviously see what we've been talking about for a few months now. So it's just one of those things we have to, I guess, swallow our pride and just kind of figure out what we need to do, because ultimately, in order to keep moving forward, keeping CSISD in the forefront for our kids and the students and what we're here to do, you got to have the staff to be able to do it, and you got to take care of them. And while it seems negative, everybody's dealing with this.
Yes, they are.
And I'm not saying, like, hey, why'd you do that to my kid? When my kids say, why'd you do that? And they go, well, so-and-so did. I don't care what they did. Well, everybody's dealing with this. And so that's the facts of life. We have to figure out how it works for us. And I appreciate the work y'all put in on that. And we've got some more work to do on it, obviously, and kind of figure that out. And we'll work through that. I mean, that's all we can do at this point.
Okay.
So I appreciate it. D2, receive an update on district communications. Mr. Dutton. Huh? Not Amy.
No.
We'll get there. Mr. Horak, members of the board, I am excited to share a couple updates on some things that we've been working on over the past school year. The first being our district logo that you see here on the screen. Really, the initial conversation that we had was, you know, our logo's a little outdated. It's reminiscent of the state seal, which a lot of school districts use initially, and then over the past few decades, a lot of school districts have changed their logo to create their own brand identity, to represent who they are, so that it matches their culture, what they're about, and the distinctive parts of who they are. And so we really wanted to have some of those conversations and think about that. We started brainstorming and throwing out ideas in the fall and really hit the ground running, working on some different options in the spring semester. And we do have a final version that I want to show you, but I want to talk you through a little bit about the purpose and the meaning behind why we landed where we landed. And then the second piece is, along with a new brand or a new logo, is also coming an updated CSISD website, as well as 19 new websites for all of our campuses. So we'll run through all of that, and I'll take any questions or comments after the fact. If you have any clarifications you want to ask, please do so. So again, we kind of started from ground zero here with our district seal, which you've seen for a long time. We asked our veteran staff members if they could remember how far back this logo goes, and I think Chrissy said about 46 years or something like that. And so, and I think at one time the seal was all maroon, maybe prior to the time we had multiple high schools. The decision to go with gold, I'm not sure where it came from. However, it is representative of our mission and our vision. As you know, our mission statement is success each life, each day, each hour, and that has kind of permeated the culture of our school district. And we really wanted to pay homage to that, to make sure that we were representing who we have been as a school district, where we are now, and kind of how we're looking to improve and move forward. So the mission and the vision of our school district was the first thing that we really wanted to consider when we were thinking about changing the logo. Another thing with branding and logo design is we wanted to promote unity within the school district. We've got 19 campuses and a variety of different departments that support them. All of our campuses have their own logo and their identity and culture. All of our departments have their own culture and identities as well, but we're all one school district. And so we wanted to create something that would continue to promote unity within the school district. Another thing that we considered was that although our school district logo may be a little bit outdated, it does have brand recognition in our community. And so it's on the side of our fleet vehicles, it's here in our boardroom, it's in our social media accounts, it's on our website. It's been used for a really long time, and so we didn't want to recreate the wheel in a sense. We wanted to maintain the brand recognition that we had here in the community. The next thing we really dove into was our campus logos and our department logos to see if there were any consistent themes, colors, elements, or ideas that we could pull from as we're deciding on how we're going to move forward with a new school district logo. And so all of our 19 campuses received an updated logo, I believe, back in 2018. And then our departments as well have kind of taken elements of the current logo, the current brand elements, and created some of their own department logos. And so as we were looking through the school logos, the department logos, we really just wanted to identify what are some of the things that these logos show to us, what are the things that we like about them, and what do we want to apply that to the new school district brand. And so the three big things that we pulled out is that our logos are simple and they're versatile. You can use them in a variety of ways. All of our campuses have like 4 or 5 different versions of their logo, so they can use it in a variety of ways. Our departments have done the same thing in creating iterations of their logos to use in all the mediums that they use it. We wanted it to be approachable, and what that means is we wanted it to be something that when you looked at our school district logo, you could tell what it's about. Even though it does say College Station Independent School District, we wanted it to be something that was representative of what we're about. In the same way that you look at, say, the South Knoll Tiger, you can tell that that's a cute, cartoony kind of looking tiger. It's professionally done, but it's representative of an elementary school. And so we wanted to have the same kind of approachable look to our logo. And then we wanted something that was professional. We wanted some intentionality behind it, something that looked like we spent time thinking about what we really wanted it to look like. And so we talked through a bunch of different options. If you'll remember, I said we wanted it to be unifying. We've got 2 comprehensive high schools, 1 high school of choice, and we threw around the idea of maybe incorporating the purple and the maroon and the teal. But purple and maroon are really close together. Teal is a contrasting color to that, but didn't really fit. And so, again, we went back to the drawing board and thought about what's really the vision and the mission of our school district. And success has been kind of the thread that's tied all the years of our school district together, and so we wanted to maintain that. And the gold star is something that represents success for us, for our students, for our staff, and for our community. And so we took the gold star and we pulled it out of that seal and we adjusted the color a little bit, and we modernized the star and we set it next to an approachable looking font. And there you have the new logo for College Station Independent School District. And so another thing with creating a logo or a new brand identity for the school district was that we wanted to have some meaning and some purpose behind it. And so, again, going back to who we are with our mission and our vision statement, down there at the bottom of the star, you'll see 1 point going in towards College Station Independent School District. And so we think of that kind of as an arrow representing that first sentence of our vision statement, that all learners in CSISD will be afforded real-world, challenging, authentic experiences that develop their creativity, confidence, and competence in a safe and healthy environment that celebrates diversity through meaningful relationships. So that bottom point of the star pointing in towards College Station Independent School District is representative of that piece of our vision, that we're focused on students first. We believe that all kids can learn at high levels, and we want to foster healthy relationships by building them up and preparing them for their next steps in life. And so in saying that, the top point of the star that points outward is then representative of our second piece of our vision, that together as a community we will work to prepare our students to meet the needs of their future success each life, each day, each hour. And so we really just wanted to bring it full circle. And so our hope is that when you look at our new logo, you see what that represents. And it's more than just a new star with some new font and modernized and looking cool or looking new, is that there's meaning behind it. Again, we wanted to create something that was versatile, so we've created a number of different iterations for us to use in a variety of ways, so that we can begin implementing this throughout the district. And each department will also receive an updated logo so that they have some consistency with our branding, and so that they have something to identify themselves within College Station ISD that is aligned with the current brand. And so we'll be delivering these art files to our departments here within the week and providing them with the resources that they need to begin implementing those, whether it's business cards or letterhead or printed materials or graphics or whatever they need, apparel. But the first official printed collateral that we've created is actually for you guys. And Carrie has a brand new polo with the new school district logo on it for you guys. So she's gonna pass those guys out. So as I mentioned, as Carrie's passing those out, we'll be rolling this out within the week. You'll see it on our social media accounts. I hope our departments will begin implementing those as well. And with any change like this, it takes time to do a full implementation process. I believe we've already received some new fleet vehicles that will receive the new logo on it. We'll start printing our own apparel, and we're really looking forward to showcasing this out as a representation of who we are in our community. The next piece that's going to be a change for us is our district website. So this is a screenshot of the homepage of our current website, and along with the logo, we felt like it needed a little bit of an upgrade, and so we talked to our current provider who hosts our website. We shopped around and asked some other K-12 web providers to see what they could offer, and ultimately decided to go with a company called Finalsite. Finalsite acquired Blackboard, if you're familiar. They're also a K-12 web company. Finalsite's been around for a really long time. They're really kind of one of the leading K-12 web providers in the space. And their resources, their customer service, their content management system, their front-end development, and their design has really been impressive over the years as I've kind of been in this industry. And so we're excited to kind of move forward with a new web platform. So I want to show you just a brief preview of what our new platform will look like. So you can see here at the top of the homepage, we've got the new logo. A couple things I'll call out that are new to this website is we have some more versatility in how we're able to showcase the things we want people to pay attention to. So first thing is, like, we've got a call to action button here at the top to register for school. You'll notice the first slide on the homepage slideshow is also a register to school message, and then down here at the bottom we've got an icon that says register for school. So obviously we're wanting people to register for school right now. These things will change over time. As we receive analytics and web traffic from our new website, we'll make changes to those call to action buttons and those things that we really want people to pay attention to. Because we have control over those things, but we're also going to take into consideration how people are interacting with our website as well. And so you'll see some similar features. We've got our top navigation. Some of these things have been reorganized just for clarity's sake and to make sure that things are organized well on our website. Down here, as we scroll down, we've got a set of icons, again, that are some of the more frequently clicked on pieces of information that we want to offer to our community and to our parents. Again, we'll continue to monitor those things quarterly just to make sure that these are, in fact, the things that people are clicking on the most. And then going a little bit further down, there we've got our mission and vision statement. And really, we call these a showcase, but it's really just kind of a tool for us to show people what we're about, the things that are important to us. We've got a quick link that goes to a web page that explains kind of why our community, why prospective parents should choose to educate their kids here in College Station ISD. We've got academics, career and technical education, fine arts, athletics, how we're using bond funds to update our facilities. And then going down to this section, we've got our calendar. This is something that our departments and our schools have been asking for since I've been here in the fall, as a district-wide calendar. And so we're working on collecting all the district events as well as the school events so that those are connected here on the calendar. We'll have our full academic calendar, our testing calendar, and everything that's pertinent to student and parents as they go through the school year. And then again, we've got our news and announcements section where we'll be sharing all of the great things that are going on here in College Station ISD. And then I'll show you just a sample of a school web page. As I mentioned, all of our campuses will be receiving an updated website as well. And so this is for A&M Consolidated High School. The look is exactly the same as the district website. There's some intentionality behind that, and a part of it's just the package that we purchased from Finalsite. So we wanted to make sure that we provided some consistency and some parameters for our schools going forward, that the top navigation would remain consistent among all of our schools, so that as parents have multiple kids in our schools or their kids go through their educational career, they are navigating the websites in a consistent fashion. And then we've got some quick links and information that's more customizable to the school as they begin to kind of jump in and look at this new platform. And so on that note, all of our campuses and our departments have been notified of the change. We are going to be working with them over the summer to make sure that their web pages are updated for the new school year. We did make an intentional decision to do this during the summer because this is kind of a normal thing for the school district to do. Update web pages, create new information, post it so we're ready for the fall. And so we'll be launching these new websites within the next 48 hours. So if you experience any technical difficulties or have any trouble accessing csisd.org or any of our campus websites within the next 24 to 48 hours, we are switching platforms, and so we appreciate our community's patience and understanding as we do that. And then if anybody comes across content on the website, broken links or anything like that, we encourage them to reach out to the communications department so that we can make sure that those things are corrected. And then we'll be training up our campuses and our department web editors here this summer and into the fall so that they have access to customize their websites and provide their communities with the information that they need. Any questions?
So if there's any glitches over that 24, 48 hours period, your cell number is? Oh, good, okay.
You got it.
Yeah, it looks good. Y'all did notice, right, that we don't have a tab at the top anymore, but that's all right. I'm sure our information is somewhere in there, right?
It's
Where
right
is it?
here,
Right
under
there
our
it is.
district.
All right, there.
There you go.
That's where we have to go.
Anything else?
Anything else? Well, we appreciate the gift. Great work.
Thank you.
I know that's an endeavor, so I appreciate that, and looks great. So excited to kind of see the functionality of it. So
Absolutely.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
D3, receive a report on district transportation. Mr. Simat.
Good evening, President Horak, Dr. Harkrider, members of the board. Thank you for this opportunity. As you well know, I transitioned into my new position with the district back in February and immediately started observing and learning more about the programs and departments that I was getting to work with on a daily basis. And one of those was transportation. And so over the last few months, had a lot of time to solicit feedbacks. Some of it was solicited, some of it was unsolicited. Do a lot of observations, ask a lot of questions, and really truly just start to evaluate our transportation department. And so what I've outlined for you today is a position overview of what we currently have within our administrative office at transportation, as well as just kind of a quick snapshot of what overtime looks like and why that is. And at the end of this, I'm going to outline for you how we can better define positions within our transportation department and save money, while also at the same time better supporting our transportation department, the students that we serve, and the campuses that we serve as well. So today, here's just a quick overview. I will tell you, as I've gone through, and I've been doing this for the last few months, I have been comparing our district to like-sized districts, a lot of the same districts that we utilize when we're looking at different comparison groups, your Beltons, your Magnolias, your Montgomerys, the schools to the north of us, and a few other schools. I will tell you that what I have come to see is that many of the other districts that are like-sized to us have more in the way of office positions. And so I was wondering, I was like, but as I've been out in transportation over the years, I've noticed more people in the office. And I was like, it's just not adding up to me. So I was just paying attention and asking more questions. So I'll kind of allude to that or explain that more in just a second. But what we currently have is we have our director and our assistant director. We have 2 routers. We added one this year. Our routers are busy right now working with Transpiler, getting more in. We have a dispatcher. We have one person who kind of moonlights as a part-time dispatcher, so our current dispatcher can take a lunch break. We have our admin assistant, and then we have 2 lead drivers. And so with those positions, for our drivers and monitors, our drivers and monitors are guaranteed 5 hours. So anything over 5 hours for a driver and monitor is going to be considered overtime, but it's only at 1-to-1. We're not paying time and a half. I tell you that because that's the type of, we're not going to ever really truly be able to avoid that type of overtime in the sense that we're always going to have extra field trips. We have midday trips. Sometimes we have coaches that don't have CDLs, and we have bus drivers that have to pick up and drive for coaches. Our lead drivers serve as route drivers in the morning and the afternoon, and in the daytime, they work the 8-hour days. They are serving as part of our driver trainers. We hire all the time in transportation. We hire people to be driver trainees. We hire people to be bus monitors. It is a constant situation where sometimes people get in and the 5 hours is just not enough, or sometimes people get in and they cite that student discipline is just too much for them to manage on the bus, and it's not what they had envisioned, and so they move on. Our routers currently work 40 hours a week. Anything over 40 hours for them is considered time and a half, and our dispatchers our dispatcher, and then is 40 hours a week, and anything over 40 hours is considered time and a half for them as well. So take a minute to process this, and I'm gonna point out some highlighted things to you. And on the left there, you'll see 2022, 2023. I'd like to just go back for 2 years because I knew that we were limited on time and I didn't want to get too far down the foxhole. But you'll see on the total paid hours in 22, 23, we had 25,000 plus hours. I'm most interested there in the number of hours that we paid at time and a half. And as I stated at the beginning, I had noticed over the years more people in the office at transportation than what I just described to you as the current positions that we have. And so I started asking questions. And Mr. Silva, over the years, he was not advocating for new positions. He was finding workarounds. So he might say, Ms. McAdams, I need you to stay today for 8 hours and you're going to do this. No clear defined role, but he was just going to have them help in the front office. Well, if you're a bus driver and you work 5 hours a day and then we keep you for that additional time and we do that 3 or 4 times a week, that money starts to add up. And so you'll see in 22, 23, at time and a half, we paid almost $225,000 in overtime. For comparison, I was curious. I went and ran reports and looked at a couple of other departments. The closest next one that I found was $120,000 in overtime. There is going to be overtime expenses. There's going to be things that happen. Sometimes we're short drivers. Sometimes people have to put in extra work. We had all the rain. Text messages start going at 5 a.m. and people are checking roads. There's a lot that goes into that. We're not going to be able to ever truly get away from the overtime hours between 25 and 40 because of all the extra trips, but we should be able to greatly monitor and achieve more and do better with less with our time and a half. And so you fast forward to this year, our number of hours that we paid out increased, and we almost spent $300,000 at time and a half overtime. That's a significant number. And so that's something that we're paying very close attention to. And as I was looking at it, I started noticing a trend, and I was having questions, and Hector was very generous and he was very gracious to people, and he had a big, huge heart, and he worked with a lot of people to help them get additional hours. But I noticed a trend that I saw some people last year. I definitely noticed them again this year. So employees A, B, and C did it last year. Employees A, B, and C were also, these are drivers. These are not people, these are not approved jobs that are on a compensation plan that anybody on the board has ever approved. These were just extra positions. These were workarounds that Hector was using to try and help move transportation along, but there was no defined role, there was no job description, et cetera, et cetera. So let me point out to you here, employee B, base pay as a driver was that 18,000 number, 18,777. Supplemental pay is their overtime. So if you look in 22, 23, they made almost $19,000 in overtime pay. And if you combine that with the overtime pay, the supplemental pay of 23, 24 of 22,000, that's $40,000 in overtime pay for somebody to do a job in the office that's not clearly defined, that's not been approved by the board, that's not on our compensation plan. You see where we're going. So what I am looking at is I would like to, we've been paying for these positions, $300,000 in overtime. We can reduce that number and we can do a better job of serving our school district. So some of the things that I started to hear as I moved into this role was we were certainly struggling with driver supervision. We are hiring constantly. We have a revolving door of bus drivers, bus monitors, trainees, managing time clock plus, making sure that people are clocking in when they're supposed to, clocking out when they're supposed to. A few other things were noticed in that process. I will tell you that we have come up short taking care of our people in the district for field trips. And the last thing that we want to do is to be something that takes away from a field trip for elementary students who are extremely excited, or to take away from anything for our fine arts groups or our athletic groups or our UIL groups that are going to participate. Two such instances this year. Our girls volleyball team at College Station High School missed their time on the court, had to have everything rescheduled. If you know, when you go to a regional tournament, you don't just get the court when you want to, they schedule a time for you. Because of a snafu with transportation, our field trip bus wasn't ready. Everything got rearranged. I don't have to tell you what that does for coaches whenever they're getting ready to play in a regional tournament. That was some of the unsolicited feedback that I got to get from the house. Field trip coordinator. This could also better serve us in the sense of this year we sent a softball team to a playoff game and there was no AC. It's hot. We don't want people focused on what's hot on the bus. We want people focused on the game at hand, and we want people focused on the competition. And that was an unfortunate situation. A sped router is one that we are in desperate need of. Keep in mind when it comes to routing, when you're talking about a gen ed student, you're getting them to a corner, you're getting them to a bus stop, you're getting them to the entrance of a neighborhood. For a special education student, you are getting them to a doorstep. You are getting them to the bottom of the stairs at an apartment complex. You are getting them and you are handing them to somebody. And this is something that our total sped ridership, it increases year in and year out, because as ARDs start to happen, as special transportation is approved, we need people dedicated to making sure that we are taking care of our special education population and ensuring that we get them situated as quickly as possible. Right now, our turnaround, if a parent waives their 5 days for sped transportation and we get ready to go, we can't meet that demand. We can't do it. We've had people in the office attempting to do things, but again, we've had no clear job description. We've had no training, no evaluations, no coaching. We've kind of been wandering around aimlessly, not really knowing what we don't know because we didn't know what our job truly was. And a last one would be a student management supervisor. I told you the second most common reason why bus drivers quit is because of managing student behavior. If you've been on a bus, if you've driven a bus, if you've been a bus monitor, if you've heard from your children, buses can be an interesting place. And I can assure you, if the behavior starts on the school bus, it doesn't disappear when they walk into the building. You'll see that 967 total referrals were issued last year by our bus drivers and monitors. Not escalated was 250. That means those 250 referrals are just sitting out there. Nothing ever got touched. And I was guilty of this myself as an assistant principal. I would deal with bus referrals sometimes, and I might give Mr. Decker a 5-day lunch detention, put him at the lunch detention table, process the referral, and never make parent contact because it was a bus referral. And so when we don't have that parent contact piece, we have no way of having that partnership to try and change that behavior on the school bus. A student management supervisor for us would be that liaison of they're contacting the parent from the transportation side of things. They're that person that's working with our drivers to ensure that we're implementing effective practices and systems on the bus to keep our kids safe. They're also that person that's the liaison with the campus, ensuring that the referral has been received and processed. And so now we're able to hold our students more accountable. We get them off of school buses in a better place, and they're ready to start the school day better. So these are defined personnel positions that could come out of this money here, and we would still save money while also doing a better job of serving the needs of our district. Moving forward, benefits. Obviously, I've said it multiple times. Clearly defined job expectations. It is hard to hold someone accountable when they do not know what the expectations are. Training for the targeted for the position. It's hard to be a special education router when you are not familiar with all the acronyms and everything else that goes along with special education. Evaluations that provide feedback in areas for improvement and growth. Consistency within the department, a reduction in overtime hours and expenses. There's been other things that we've uncovered of situations that we need to do a better job of managing within the transportation department. These positions that we are trying to define more clearly will certainly help us in managing the department and ensuring that our overtime hours come down tremendously. One of the first things that I did when I got into the position was I requested a bi-weekly overtime report. I wanted to know the overtime report for every single department that we work with, and week in and week out, or every time it was coming through, transportation was tops on that list. With collaboration with Ms. Caltharp and Ms. Lester, that's been going down, but as you can see, we spent a number of money, a large amount of money on overtime pay this summer. Provide our employees the opportunity to be more proficient in their positions by focusing on one job. Those are full-time jobs that I just outlined for you on this page here. Every single one of those is a full-time job. When you have that many field trips and that many drivers and you're hiring every day and you're interviewing every day, you've got that much on your sped ridership and that many referrals process, those are full-time jobs that people were trying to do in between driving a bus route in the morning and driving a bus route in the afternoon. And it wasn't the same people every day. It might be some consistency that I noticed with A, B, and C that I pointed out to you, but a lot of times it was a revolving door. You never knew exactly who was going to be there to try to assist you. And most importantly, we can do this with an anticipated net savings with defined personnel positions. These are not new positions. This is not additional costs. We will be able to define these positions, and we will be able to save money and do a better job of serving our school district. The logo will be fixed. Mr. Dunson's been very territorial about it. I currently do not have access to it.
Yeah, good work, obviously. I mean, I don't know if you, these people who've been doing these jobs, will there be, I mean, they've been doing an overtime capacity. I'm assuming those people will be some of the ones you look at for potentially applying for these positions. I mean, some of them are obviously used to making a very different salary than what they they would obviously get if they weren't doing this overtime, so.
Absolutely. And so anybody will have the opportunity to apply once we get these jobs posted, assuming that we're able to post these jobs. But we would anticipate that some of those people will express an interest. Some of them may not. The more strict parameters and the greater expectations, maybe they will, maybe they won't. I don't know 100%, but I do trust that Ms. Caltharp and her team with Ms. Lester will help us in shaping the future and helping us grow and do a better job of serving our people.
Yeah, thank you. And again, back to our earlier discussion, it is a way to hopefully be more efficient with, how you're managing those folks. So thank you.
Anything else? Great job, Mr. Simak. Appreciate it.
Thanks, sir.
Brings us to item D4, discussion of policy FC local, and I believe y'all have a handout.
You should have a handout at your seat. I just wanted to bring your attention to FC Local on page 2. Something that I want you to think about, consider. There's no action tonight, just kind of putting it on your radar. Annual enrollment review and report. The way this potential policy is worded, it basically puts us in a position to talk demographic data with you guys every year in November and December. I'm assuming this was probably put back in policy back when the district was growing on a regular basis and numbers were a big deal. We're not growing at any high rate right now. And the wording on there is the administration shall review facilities and enrollment. And so the shall twice, we're having to do an enrollment report, demographic study that's costing us roughly $25,000 a year. That's $25,000 right now. We don't have to spend. We kind of have our projections. It's our job to monitor, each snapshot date in October of where our projections say we are. If there gets an uptick and we're not for sure why, we can always go back and have a demographic study before. So what I want you to think about is a couple of things. We can totally take this annual enrollment review and report out, and that becomes part of our administrative regulations, or we make two word changes. We change shall in those two paragraphs to may, and then it's up to us what we do or not, and our hands really aren't tied. Amy had reached out to our TASB rep. She said, well, it doesn't say anywhere in there that you have to use the demographic company to do it. Well, kind of do, because we're not going to do it. So in my opinion, it does ties our hands that we do have to have one done every year. If we change the wording to may, we don't have to. It's up to district admin. We'll decide if we need to or not, or we totally redact it. There's a lot of other facility utilization and a lot of other things in there. In my opinion, we leave the policy in place and we just change the two words. And then we're not tied to having to do that yearly if we don't need to. Any questions?
I don't know the policy by heart. Will we still on our annual basis do the, a capacity look at, I mean, the part of it looking at the capacity.
Yeah, that wouldn't change at all. Yeah, the capacity stuff's there. We would review enrollment with you guys more than likely at the November board meeting every year because it aligns with snapshot date. So it's an apples to apples comparison. And then we can show you where we are and then our 5-year projections that we currently have. I think our projections right now go out 10 years. So we could take the next 5 years and see how we're stacking up. And then I think that's something we're going to have to look at is our utilization at our campuses. And we do know that we're kind of at or over capacity at a couple of different places. And I think we're going to have to look at the word nobody wants to look at as far as rezoning. But we've got some campuses running well below capacity and some running right at capacity. And that's just, it's not anything anybody wants to do. There's not a perfect way to do it outside of being transparent and put it out there. But that's some things we're going to need to look at this fall.
And I guess that's kind of where some of my concerns might be is that even, because we do have some numbers we need to be looking at, right? And one of the questions always is, we know, or we've seen the population shift throughout the district, right? It's not always, even if our growth is only that small, 1%, it moves throughout the district. So we can get those, I mean, we can get the snapshot once a year, but I'm just thinking through, what am I missing, right, if I don't?
I think all you're missing is a percentage growth.
Well,
We can do those calculations ourselves.
so some of that we can look at, then projecting those, yeah.
Yeah, basically, nothing changes here except the fact that I don't have to spend $25,000 in our current growth cycle every year.
Every-
You take over
Do
the,
it, it's just not required the way it's written now. We're required to do it.
This is how it's written,
correct.
which I think, if that's dated right, that was 2019 in July, which we were growing pretty fast, so
Sure.
makes sense.
But again, there's that movement within the district and the projection of that, right? Where we're changing who lives in, tearing down houses and building more apartments for college students, which changes, and then and putting more houses at other places. So it shifts throughout the district too.
So, yeah,
We have that year in October, but we don't necessarily look at the building where the building is all happening
so we have
every
the
year.
data of where those neighborhoods are located zoning wise.
All right,
I think I don't want to put words in Kimberly's mouth, but I think what she's getting at is, I don't know how correct it usually is, but, this neighborhood, we're anticipating another 1,000 homes going into this, that's the kind of thing that, I think it's a good idea, but to change this, but that would be what we'd potentially be losing is.
Well, yeah, on an annual basis.
Yeah.
But if we do, as a district, see something, we can always call for a demographer report. It doesn't eliminate us from actually doing it. This wording just forces us to have to spend the money, have to do it, and move forward. I mean, subdivision has 1,000 homes in it. My guess might not be as educated as the demographers, but I can look at the house and kind of tell, okay, this neighborhood is going to be a single family type home, not a college driven community or something like that.
Yeah, we monitor this every year regardless of a policy. That I've never worked in a district that had this policy, so it's irrelevant. That's our job as administrators to do that every year. We get snapshot data, we have grade level data, we have campus data, we have comparisons, we have 5-year projections, and just based on, I just got our spring report that I met with our demographer, I guess it was Monday, yesterday, I guess we had a conference call. Nothing's changed, and nothing's going to change in the next 5 years. There's no grandmaster communities that are coming in here. They have the projections of how many homes. Like right now, they're projecting at the end of 24, we'll have 1,400 new homes built in College Station ISD. That's running about 900 homes less than the last 4-year averages. So, but there's supposed to be an uptick in those home builds in the years 3, 4, and 5. And we already have all that data there, and we know where they're coming in at. Now, our job is, when we work with the chamber and we meet the different builders and stuff and create those partnerships, if they're going to ramp up and fast track some of their developments versus slow playing it, then obviously we would be aware of that. In the current market system, I don't think anybody's going to uptick right now. But, once inflation starts to lower a little bit, interest rates drop, I can see some of these places really rocking and rolling.
And then that's what we as board members, if we're worried about it, bring it up. Say, hey, is this year that we do that study?
Agreed. And again, if we, and some of the reality is, we all know those numbers are not perfect, right? We've watched them from year to year. But if and when we need to look at maybe changing attendance zones, I would like them to be as current, hopefully, as possible. So, but I understand we may still do it. It's just making sure we don't let it slide too much and forget about it.
I don't necessarily agree with my own statement, but just to play devil's advocate, as a governance and an oversight board, is there any benefit in, not saying we're going to mandatorily do it every year, but at least every 5 years or something of that nature?
It doesn't preclude the district from internally looking. It's just we don't have to pay.
Yeah,
them outside.
absolutely.
Yeah, and it says it mentions a 5-year planning cycle.
I just didn't know from a policy perspective.
But that's also from a governance thing is we make sure like, hey boss man, then we hired you to look at this. And if right, we still get a report November, December, we just didn't pay a demographer $25,000.
It's part of what we already do. Or should be doing.
Just asking the question.
Yes, sir.
Anything else? That brings us to adjournment. Right here. Everybody ready? Hey, grab that door when you go by, please. I'd like to call our regular scheduled board meeting Tuesday, June 18th, 2024, 7 p.m. Item B, declaration of a quorum, 7 members present. Welcome, everybody. Thank you all for being here. Welcome to this meeting of the College Station Independent School District Board of Trustees. We were elected at large to represent the interests of our community and our state in educating our students. Our mission for our students in this district is success each life, each day, each hour. We adhere to all pertinent laws, policies, and procedures in posting agendas and conducting our meetings. The detailed agenda information was made available to us at least 72 hours in advance. We've all come to this meeting informed and prepared. We've just completed a workshop meeting where we heard reports and discussed much of the information needed to make decisions in either this meeting or in upcoming meetings. This is a meeting of the 7 trustees in a public setting rather than a public meeting. As such, public comment is included on the agenda at a specific time and requires us to listen rather than take action so as to abide by the Open Meetings Act. We're pleased that you have taken the time this evening to join us. We are very proud of this school district. We thank you for your interest in and support of our students. That will bring us to item C, recognitions, and I believe we had the bilingual summer school kids here.
Hello, my name is Maria Science, and I'm the coordinator for the summer pre-kinder, kindergarten, summer language academy. And here are some of our students that are going to lead us in the pledges today.
Hello, my name is Monica Kim, and I'm 5 years old. Hello, my name is Saran, and I'm 6 years old. Hello, my name is Aitana, and I'm 6 years old. Hi, my name is Matty, and I'm 6 years old. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state, under God, one indivisible. Please join me in a moment of silence. You may be seated.
Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Awesome. Okay, stay right there. Big smiles for your parents.
Brings us to item C2. We'd like to recognize the artwork provided by our bilingual summer school and enrichment summer school kids at the back of our boardroom. So make sure you check that out and see what the kiddos have been doing this summer while continuing to learn. And then I believe Miss Goolsby has some recognition as well.
Good evening, Dr. Harkrider, Board, Community of College Station ISD. At this time, I would like to recognize 2 assistant principals that will be transitioning back to campuses they have previously served in instructional roles. Next year, they will be serving as assistant principals. These are existing positions in the district. Mrs. Lizzie Ortega will be leaving Welborn Middle School to serve the Creekview family, and Miss Allison Stone will be leaving Welborn Middle School to serve the Greens Prairie family. Congratulations. At this time, we would allow Mrs. Ortega a few words.
Okay, I just wanted to say thank you guys for this opportunity. I'm excited to rejoin the Gator family and continue to serve our district.
And Miss Allison Stone.
Good evening. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm really looking forward to serving the students, the staff, and the families of Greens Prairie Elementary. Thank you so much.
All right, congratulations, y'all. That'll bring us to item D1, board reports. Do we have any? None?
CMET.
Okay.
DEIC met, updated on the federal funds and allocation to Mr. Mann. Did a very good job explaining how that went to improving the professional development of our teachers. So I think when we talk about compensation, we also look at the professional development as part of that.
And I can just add on that, I mean, they went over a lot of the federal funds that we get and how, and the things that those were used for. And it's good, it's money, it's some extra money that we get for the district, but I mean, it is a lot of trying to use that. I saw using that wisely, right, in the little pocket so that we can stretch the rest of the money that we have for other things. That's one of the big picture takeaways I took from that.
Anything else?
I'm just going to quickly say also, I had mentioned before that I did go to the Summer Leadership Institute last week, which is the ATASA-TASB conference. I went originally because I'm part of the Legislative Advisory Council, and that group did meet to work on what the focus is for our TASB, and really, all our public school districts at the legislative session. And it's not surprising. It really is. I'm trying to keep it very simple this year. It is about funding and a fair funding and playing field. And y'all see the details of it that had come out in a few weeks. But also, I just realized. I mean, it's very similar to the conference we usually go to. We don't usually go to Summer Leadership, but they have a couple days in this year is in San Antonio, and they'll also have a couple days in Fort Worth. But it's a big conference, very similar to the other one, and so I think it's something we might consider being a part of, just at some level. Again, a lot of our neighboring districts were there in full force, and there's a lot to learn in the timing right now about preparing for. I mean, the tough budgets, but also for the legislative session ahead. That was really my focus, because I know we said earlier, to some degree, we have to just buckle down with the problems and the funding, but we also need to use our voices to make sure people are educated about the effect of the funding on us, and that was a big piece of that, of the conference from the last week.
All right. Anything else? Dr. Harkrider.
Yes, sir. We're busy at it. We had our Leadership Academy with our assistant principals, and instructional coaches a few weeks ago that went very well. Heading into the summer, on July 2nd, Ms. Goolsby and I will be meeting with a group from Texas A&M to explore some future partnerships between College Station ISD and A&M. July 9th will be our auxiliary job fair, as well as we'll be advertising positions to fill for our special education instructional assistant positions. We have quite a few of those open right now, so hoping that would be an opportunity to get some positions filled. And then July 16th will be our July board meeting and board workshop.
All right, that will bring us to item E, hearing of citizens. During this time, we will hear from citizens who registered to speak prior to the meeting in accordance with the board operating procedures. The Open Meetings Act prevents us from responding to speakers regarding items not on the agenda. I did skip you, I'm sorry. God, I feel bad. It's just our meeting dates, y'all. It's not that big a deal. I'm going to retract E, go back to D2. Mr. Dunson, take it away, please.
All right, Mr. Horak, members of the board, Dr. Harkrider, we've come to our final meeting date for the 2023-2024 school year. And so at this time, we're going to propose the meeting dates for the 2024-2025 school year. We'll continue with the same trend of meeting on the third Tuesday of each month, and in this next school year, we don't have any amended dates because of holidays. The Thanksgiving, winter, and spring break holidays all fall outside of that third week, and so we'll have our regularly scheduled meetings and workshops within those third Tuesdays of each month. So it is recommended that the College Station ISD Board of Trustees approve the third Tuesday of each month as the regularly scheduled workshop and meeting date.
Motion to approve as presented.
Motion by Dr. Payne, seconded by Mr. Ben. Any conversation, discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Same sign. Oh, that one carries 7-0. Way to go, guys. All right, that'll bring us to item E, hearing of citizens. During this time, we will hear from citizens who registered to speak prior to the meeting in accordance with board operating procedures. The Open Meetings Act prevents us from responding to speakers regarding items not on the agenda. Comments related to items on the agenda may be discussed during deliberations on that specific agenda item. Public comments are limited to 3 minutes per person. Those needing an interpreter may have up to 6 minutes. Each person has one opportunity at the microphone regardless of minutes used. Unused minutes may not be accrued by another speaker. The executive assistant will time the comments and alert the president when time has expired. The board asks those addressing the board refrain from derogatory comments. And our first speaker is Ms. Heather Nickel. And we're going to use that microphone.
Good evening, and thank you for allowing me to address you today. My name is Heather Nickel, and I'm a parent of 2 students in CSISD. After leaving the last school board meeting, I was approached by several teachers who expressed appreciation for my support on their behalf during the meeting. They mentioned feeling unable to speak up for themselves due to fear. Since then, I've been contacted by several more teachers who shared similar concerns. Teachers, I urge you to speak up. I know it's scary, but if you all advocate together, that will help make it more apparent to the school board. We as parents have your back. And I'll be reading a letter from a teacher. And in the past 4 years, changes have been made throughout our district, from curriculum for different subjects to accelerated instruction for STAR, to changes to add character strong. With many of these changes, there's been little to no training for teachers. It is a figure it out as you go. With the new changes being made for the next school year, there are promises that there will be trainings for teachers to fully understand. I find this difficult to understand as we are entering the 4th week of summer with 0 trainings being offered prior to the week before students return. District of Innovations are claimed to have local control to suit students and staff. CSISD adopted a plan in 2022 listed TEC 21.404 planning and preparation time. Benefits listed as all educators will have quality planning time each month. However, flexibility is requested for instructional planning allotments. This sounds a lot like figure it out mentality once again, which leads us to additional stress, unsureness, and little improvement. It may be too late to undo the changes that have been made, but reflection is never too late to move forward. The book, Reduce Change to Increase Improvement, is quoted to say, "To lead improvement is to exercise influence in ways that leave the team, organization, or system in a better state than before." I encourage the leaders to reflect on if they're leading change or leading improvement. Lastly, they state there are several openings for critical teaching roles across our district. Teachers already feel stressed out and set back, and the year hasn't even started. Begin to offer information and training for ways for teachers to plan now. I strongly urge the board to critically examine the data presented to you. A study conducted by the University of Arkansas in May found no statistically significant impact on students across or growth with the PLC model. So we're spending all this extra money for just extra stress on teachers? I don't get it. While I understand the school may interpret the PLC model differently, our district is not progressing in the right direction. As I emphasized in the previous meeting, my children deserve better, all students deserve better, and teachers deserve better. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next speaker, John Patrick Small. John Small. Okay, we'll move on to Trent McNamara.
Good evening, Superintendent and board members. Thank you for serving the district. I want to speak for a minute on GT education. I'm a parent of 4 CSISD students, 3 of whom are current or former GT students, and 2 of whom were taught by the late Kathy Martin, who I want to recognize for her extraordinary dedication. The GT program has been truly extraordinary for my family. It's been challenging, engaging, innovative. At a time of relentless standardization in the curriculum, it's what my kids talk about when they come home. I have 2 requests with respect to changes in pullout services for GT students. First, I respectfully request that the district be clear and straightforward about your plans for GT. My experience and that of every other parent with whom I've spoken on this issue is that your guidance is unclear to the point of seeming willfully unclear with respect to GT. It seems like language that's designed more to obscure than to clarify. If you want to cut GT or cut pullout services for GT, again, I respectfully ask that you stand up and say it out loud, that you say why you want to do that, and that you state your priorities. If it's going to be good for our kids, there should be a clear and easy way to say why that's good for our kids. Second, I'd like to ask the district to consider that classroom teachers are already overworked, that it's not fair to expect teachers to teach GT on top of their existing duties, to teach that to a high standard or perhaps to any standard. I also think it's unfair to expect parents to believe that they can fill that role. When I hear some of the talk about changes to GT, I feel a bit like I'm being told that the hospital is going to cut specialists, but that's okay because the general practitioners are going to pick up the slack, or that the police department is going to cut detectives, but that's okay because the beat cops are going to solve the crimes. I think this is a great school district. I know many people around this country. This is the best school district that I know of firsthand. It's run by professionals. It's staffed by dedicated teachers. I think it's a better district when we engage and challenge GT students. Thank you.
Thank you. David Foley.
All right, so I'm here again to speak in opposition to cuts to GT enrichment and intervention. And tonight I want to talk about data and where our money goes. First, the district has not provided data showing that change is needed, and second, that the district and Solution Tree have not provided data showing that the proposed changes will be effective. In last month's meeting, the district said that CSISD would use data-driven decisions to inform instruction, but the data presented show good general student performance and excellent GT student performance. So where is the data supporting a change to district instruction and intervention? Dr. Harkrider mentioned that there are two groups with consistent poor performance, but no details were provided. The district is making cuts to the instructional staff and adding administrators and other positions that do not teach students. Please show us the evidence that this will benefit students. Last month, the district also relayed the plan to implement professional learning communities. In February, the Arkansas legislature requested that the University of Arkansas audit Solution Tree's PLC at Work program, which the state had spent tens of millions of dollars and abundant teacher hours on. In June, the researchers published a simple conclusion: the program did not improve student achievement with any statistical significance. Jeff Jones, the company's CEO, said his company had been villainized, and that the study was flawed. There could certainly be flaws with the Arkansas data, but after 27 years in business, Solution Tree should have an unassailable mountain of data to prove that their system works, not simple anecdotes. We, the taxpayers, and parents in CSISD want school resources directed to students. In a time of tight budgets, I asked Dr. Harkrider and the board to review data compiled by non-stakeholders, like the University of Arkansas, and make data-driven decisions that will support our students. The data I've seen indicates that we should not replace interventionists and GT teachers with administrators and consultants. And thank you all, and I appreciate your service.
Thank you. That will bring us to item F, consent agenda. Those items are item G, J2 through J14. J2 through J14, K7, K8, and K9.
Motion approved as presented.
A second.
Motion by Dr. Payne, second by Ms. Ege. Any questions or comments? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. That will bring us to item I1, consideration, discussion, and possible approval of DC local policy change to give superintendent hiring authority of administrators during May, June, July, and August. Dr. Harkrider.
Yes, sir. As we hit the been in hiring season, usually kicks off early April. And as moves get to make, as we get into a 45-day window before school starts, and as administrators are in other districts potentially, or we're trying to hire and make moves, it becomes problematic to try to hit hires that coordinate potentially with board meetings that are set up. Trying to get a special meeting together. Sometimes it's tough to get a quorum together. And so I'm asking you to consider policy DC local. I have hiring authority over all positions except administrator hires. You would still be informed of the administrator hires, but in May, June, July, and August, those would be delegated to myself. So we can continue to keep up to date, that we do not lose candidates, and we can get positions posted and move forward in the event that we need to.
The only comment I make, just given our discussion in the workshop, is in the memo, when it cites the DC local, which comes from DC legal, the board does not approve, we accept recommendations. It's a small but important difference. So just in future memorandums, make sure it's accept, not approve.
Motion approved as presented.
Second.
Motion by Dr. Payne, second by Ms. Simmons. Any further questions or comments? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. That motion carries 7-0. Brings us to item I2, consideration, discussion, and possible approval of reclassifying the position of safety and risk management from coordinator to director. Ms. Goolsby.
Dr. Harkrider, Board of Trustees. In August of 2022, Tracy Boudreau was hired as our Coordinator of Safety and Risk Management. Previously, she had served Bryan ISD for 6 years in a similar position and came to us with extensive experience with workman compensation. Mrs. Boudreau has been instrumental with ensuring compliance with workers' compensation laws and regulations. This has allowed the district to focus on the needs of our employees while working to return them to work as quickly as possible. Ms. Boudreau is a point of contact for all things related to safety and security within the district. She led our efforts to secure TNT security solutions for our intermediate and elementary campuses. She works closely with Bryan County School Resource Deputies, Brazos County School Resources, Brazos County Sheriff's Office, TNT Security Solutions on a daily basis, and is one of the first responders to campuses when there is a need. In her time in the district, she has applied for 3 safety grants that have totaled close to $6 million. She negotiates contracts, adjusts our MOUs when necessary, and is working to maintain safety of all of our campuses and facilities. She is working beyond the responsibilities of a coordinator. It is recommended that the College Station ISD School Board of Trustees consider the approval of changing the classification of the Coordinator of Safety and Risk Management to a director-level position.
Proudly motion to approve as presented.
Second. I'd like to say that Tracy has a job that none of us hear about. That means she's doing a great job. And I think the fact that all of us, 14,000 students, go to school every day, kids aren't living in a bubble, but we know they're safe. It's not going to be perfect, but we've got responses and we got the coordination. So it's well deserved and well earned. Thank you for everything you've done that no one will ever know about.
I've had the opportunity to sit on Safety and Security Committee since I've been on the board. Tracy has been able to streamline that and make it more understandable of all the changes that have occurred over the last few years. So appreciate it and look forward to your continued service for us. So thank you. We have a motion. We have a second. Any further discussion, questions? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. Congratulations. Brings to I-3, consideration, discussion, and possible approval of an administrator contract for the Assistant Director of Assessment and Related Services.
Yes, just to clarify, this position is one of 2 assistant director positions in the district that already existed in the district. You will notice the title has been changed to clarify the roles and responsibilities of this position. The candidate of this position of Assistant Director of Assessment and Related Services brings experience as an assessment specialist, most currently, Child Find Team Lead, LSSP, and has a PhD from Texas A&M University. She has multiple publications leading the way for best practices and approaches to student and staff development and consistently presents at the national level. It is recommended that College Station Independent School District Board of Trustees approve a recommendation to issue an administrator contract to Dr. Bianca Watkins for the position of Assistant Director.
What I was going to say is we can approve the position and we can accept the recommendation.
It is my recommendation that you accept that instead of approve.
I motion that we accept it.
Thank you for the clarification.
Motion by Dr. Payne, second by Ms. Simmons. Any further discussion, questions? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. Welcome to College Station ISD, Dr. Watkins.
Dr. Watkins.
Well, I just wanted to say, thank you to everyone in the special education department. You all have been just so warm and welcoming. Even folks in the HR department, custodial staff, everyone across the board has just made me feel so welcome. And I wouldn't be here without my mom, my dad, and my sister, and all the times you all have helped me move. You helped me move back to College Station a 3rd time. So I just want to thank everyone, and especially my family. So ready to work.
All right, that will bring us to item J1, consider a change in policy CE local and the application for notification of intent to change the fiscal year start date. Mr. Oz.
Thank you, Mr. Horak. So you heard in workshop, and we've discussed it a couple of times already before, about the potential for a change in our fiscal year. So I have a few just reminder slides to go over. School districts by Education Code 44011 have two choices. We may start our school year or our fiscal year July 1, which would then end on June 30, or September 1 and end August 31. So College Station ISD currently is a September 1 through August 31. So we would like to recommend a change in policy CE local. That is the policy that you as a Board of Trustees sets our school year, our fiscal year. Also included in policy CE local, is a recommended addition to that particular policy. This policy deals with annual operating budgets, and a section that College Station does not have, but sometimes is recommended, is one that a section that would deal with fund balance, where you set the desired parameters for assigned and unassigned fund balances. So that has been added. It's really not a huge different practice from what we've had. What we've done before is followed TEA's recommendation of 75 days. And this particular policy now says at or near 3 months, and it sets some parameters for correcting that if we dip below that number. So it's just a recommendation to include some parameters for fund balance. So we've added that to the policy as well. So just as a reminder, some advantages of changing our fiscal year July 1, and this would start with July 1, 2025. It would align with our federal grants. It would align our fiscal year with our school start years. So principals and directors would not have to try to hold their budget to get startup cost out of that. And then we will have a one-time addition to fund balance. And the reason this is we're recognizing 12 months worth of revenue against normally 10 months worth of expenditures. The challenges, I won't go over all of these because most of these challenges are transitional only and additional work on staff, and that's what we do. So I won't go over those, but some of the largest ones would be adopting a budget prior to receiving our property values. So you as a board would be asked to approve the budget in June. We don't get our certified property values until in July. We do have close contact with the appraisal district, so we've got some ideas of where those property values will be. The other one is the fact that you will be asked to do a separate meeting. Normally right now we do budget and tax rate at the same meeting, so you'd be adopting budget in June, tax rate in August or September. And then the last challenge would be on legislative years. Regularly, legislative session should end on or about June 1st, and we would have to be adopting our budget within 3 weeks of that. But there's, again, some things that we just have to get used to and doing differently, and that timing. So if approved, we'd be asking you tonight to approve the change in policy as well as the application with TEA to change our fiscal year. We would submit that to TEA and follow up next month with our minutes to this meeting. And then in August, you would be adopting a 10-month budget. We would also provide you with information on a 12-month so that you would see what it would normally look like. So a few of the significant changes that would affect you as a Board of Trustees. You see an example of the budget cycle. What it is currently is that top section for September 1 and what it would look like. So for you as trustees, you're going to have a much earlier budget cycle than what you're accustomed to. And then that 2-meeting adoption. Those are the two main things that will affect you as a Board of Trustees. So with that, I'll ask for your approval of the change in policy CE local, as well as the application for notification of intent to change the fiscal year start date effective July 1, 2025.
I'd like to point out 2 things for the record we discussed in workshop, just to reiterate for the audience. The change in the tax rate, when we project a tax rate and we revisit it, Just to confirm, we cannot raise that tax rate. We could bring it lower that second look.
The only way you could raise the tax rate higher than what you published at the public hearing would be to hold another public hearing to actually go through the advertisements and the process again.
And then I'd also like to point out, given the allowing Dr. Harkrider to make those rapid hiring initiatives over the summer, which has been a crunch time for us, this budgeting for the hiring actually helps us to kind of get ahead of the curve, because I know Mr. Simex brought that up in previous workshops.
Yes,
So
sir.
thank you for all that coordination.
Since we are unpaid, you're adding 2 more meetings, so I would like a raise in our volunteer. But I also can't remember, I think at least the last 3 legislative sessions have not ended on time, is that?
The last one for sure went all the way up to right at November
Yeah,
and
okay.
still didn't. So,
So
they
may or may not
normally
have
would
it.
end on or around June 1st. This year was the session that never ended.
I motion to approve as presented.
And I just want to clarify, so we're also making the change to CE local as far as the fund balance
Yes, sir.
with this motion? Okay.
That's not a change, that's more just
It's,
a list.
it's just clarifying the direction of the board on where they prefer fund balance to be, and if it gets out of line, what our process will be. It's really just defining what we have been doing.
We have a motion by Dr. Payne, a second by Mr. Decker. Any further discussion or questions? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you, sir.
That'll bring us to item K1, consider award of contract manager at risk for construction additions and/or renovations to A&M Consolidated High School. Mr. Simak.
Yes, sir. President Horak, Dr. Harkrider, members of the board. This is a very exciting time. As you well know, our amazing voters approved a big bond package for us back in November. I will kind of outline for you the process that we went through for the next 4 agenda items, and then I'll introduce the contract managers at risk that have been elected by our committee. So we sent out an a request for proposals and received bids on May the 16th. And with the best procurement method, we chose contract manager at risk, which allowed us to review qualifications and pricing at the same time. A committee reviewed that, went through a matrix, and then we set up interviews with the companies that were high on our matrix. And that committee consisted of myself, our new CFO, Ms. Heather Wilson, Paul Butner, our Executive Director of Facilities, Carmela Schaefer, who is our Director of Purchasing, and then construction coordinator, Tom Stewart. And so we were very excited when we got those bids back in May. We had 9 companies that submitted, some for all 4 projects, some for just 1 or 2. But we had some companies that we'd never seen before. And so we were very excited to go through that. And after reviewing everything and going through all of our interviews, we have come to the conclusion and chosen the best companies for our current position with our new package at A&M Consolidated High School. So at A&M Consolidated High School, it is recommended that the College Station Independent School Board of Trustees authorize the superintendent or designee to enter final negotiations with Duratech Incorporated General Contractors as the construction manager at risk for the renovations and addition at A&M Consolidated High School.
Motion approved as presented.
I'll second.
Motion by Dr. Payne, second by Mr. Ben. Any further questions or discussion?
I was just going to ask Mr. Simak if, for the benefit of those watching, if you could just briefly describe what a construction manager at risk is.
So with this procurement method, so this will be the person that's going to be our project manager on the ground. So we'll have an architect, and the construction manager at risk will work directly with the architect in the planning process. Fortunately for us right now, we're getting them into the process very early, so they'll be a part of the planning process for us. They will be our general contractor. They will be the person that helps us see this project through. They'll provide us with a guaranteed maximum price, and they'll be the people that are tasked with delivering this under budget, and on time. I'm very excited today. With us from Duratech is their founder and CEO, Mr. David Rowe.
We have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. Congratulations. Yeah. Bring us to item K2, consider award of contract manager at risk for construction additions and/or renovations to College Station High School. Mr. Simak.
Yes, sir. Similar process used for this. And so we'll have a contract manager at risk for College Station High School. After reviewing all of our scoring through our matrix, our committee is going to be recommending Dramala Construction. They will also be recommended for our next agenda item as well. But it is at this time that we recommend the College Station Independent School District Board of Trustees authorize the superintendent or designee to enter final negotiations with Dramala Construction as the construction manager at risk for the renovations and additions at College Station High School.
Motion approved is presented.
Second.
Motion by Dr. Payne, second by Ms. Ege. Any further questions or comments? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. And brings us to item K3, consider award of contract manager at risk for construction additions and/or renovations to Rock Prairie Elementary. Mr. Simak.
Yes, sir. And it's recommended that the College Station Independent School District Board of Trustees authorize the superintendent or designee to enter final negotiations with Dramala Construction as the construction manager at risk for the renovations and addition at Rock Prairie Elementary School.
I'm a little disappointed you just didn't say samesies. Ditto.
Noted, Dr. Payne, noted.
Yeah. Motion approved is presented.
Second.
Motion by Dr. Payne, second by Ms. Simmons. Any further questions, discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. Congratulations, Dramala Construction.
So Dramala was not here with us tonight. Their son is playing in an all-star game, one that I don't know that they expected to be playing in. So that's always 2 thumbs up. If I'm not mistaken, Dr. Harker, don't the Longhorns? No, the Longhorns don't play tonight. Excuse me. So with Poe Construction,
I'd like to make a motion
Not on the agenda.
to disallow a contract that's already.
no, nonetheless.
Item K4, consider award of contract manager at risk for construction additions and/or renovations to the Career and Technology Center Phase 2. Mr. Simak.
Yes, sir. So we went through a very similar process, and another company that's going to be new to us here in College Station ISD, but certainly a company that has a reputation across the state. And we are very excited to be recommending Poe Construction. So with that, it is recommended that the College Station Independent School District Board of Trustees authorize the superintendent or designee to enter the final negotiation with Poe Construction as the construction manager at risk for Phase 2 of the Career and Technology Education Center.
So moved.
Ooh, look at you.
Second.
I got to scratch this out. I had pain already. We have a motion by Mr. Ben, second by Dr. Payne. Any further questions, comments? Looking forward to the Phase 2. That'll be the fun part because Phase 1 looks unbelievable. So this will be fun. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. Congratulations, Poe Construction.
So we do have 2 representatives from Poe Construction with us today. Perhaps the most avid baseball fan of the Aggies with a great haircut wearing his maroon jacket in Aggieland. Their VP, Mr. Shane Williams, and then their project executive, Mr. Luke Tyler. We're very appreciative of them making the trip down to be here with us today.
Brings us to item K5, consider award of RFQ 24-022 to a pool of engineers and authorize the superintendent to negotiate and enter into contracts with the recommended firms for miscellaneous engineering services for a period of 5 years ending May 2029. Dr. Harkrider.
Yes, sir. We've got a list of RFQ here issued for our advertising of a group of engineers that we can choose from as a school district, and those are listed there. The recommendation is that you approve this list as presented.
Motion approved as presented.
Second.
Motion by Dr. Payne, second by Ms. Simmons. Any further questions or discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. I don't think all of them are here, but congratulations. Item K6, consider award of contract for the sewer line replacement at College Station High School to Ed Phillips Plumbing in an amount not to exceed $53,475 utilizing the general fund. Mr. Simon.
This one's pretty cut and dry. We have a situation at College Station High School where we just have a pipe that's not big enough to handle the volume which is coming through it, causing us some issues within the building. So we're recommending that we increase a 4-inch line to a 6-inch line, get that done this summer, and that'll certainly alleviate some of the problems that they experience at College Station High School. So with that, it is recommended that the College Station Independent School District Board of Trustees consider approval of a contract for Ed Phillips Plumbing not to exceed $53,475 for the sanitary sewer line replacement at College Station High School utilizing the Maintenance General Fund.
Motion approved as presented.
We have a motion by Dr. Payne. We have a second by Mr. Decker.
And I'm, the contractor is a client of mine, I'm going to abstain from this vote.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 6-0. That'll bring us to item L, and then item M, and then item N, adjournment. Thank y'all for being here. We appreciate it. Hope y'all are enjoying your summer. See y'all next month. Yes. Yes. Shane staying in town, or are they driving back? Shane staying in town? They driving back? I figured so. Oh.
Staying in for something else.
Yeah, yeah.
Doing